Megan to Megan Show continues. Carney to Tyrell.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Meg Show. We are here for episode 4, and we have a lovely guest today joining us. We are so pumped to have a very familiar name to me, a familiar face to you guys. Miss Emma Tyrell is joining us today I know maybe this might sound a little weird, but Meg's not here today. Uh-oh. No, I'm just kidding. She is on vacation. So pumped for her. So today we're going to have a special guest come in to banter with me and talk to you guys. So Emma, welcome to the Meg Show.
Hello, everyone. So excited to be back.
We are more than honored to have you here. And if you may not be familiar with Emma Tyrell, you may have been living under a rock for the past few seasons. However, as she is an alumni, we can let it slide. So to give you guys a little bit of a recap on who this is, Emma Tyrell, she is a now alumni of Syracuse University. She played midfield and attack for Syracuse during her time there. She has been on the Tewaaraton watch list, was a Tewaaraton Award nominee, Inside Lacrosse and USA Lacrosse Magazine All-American. In her final season, she led the team in points and goals, and as she ended her career, she ranked number 8 on Syracuse's all-time point list, coming in with 273 points, and also 8th on the career goals list with 197 goals. You couldn't hit the 200 before you left?
I couldn't.
Okay. Well, welcome. Yeah, I guess. We are so excited to have you, and selfishly, I'm excited to have you. And in case this wasn't obvious, I don't know if I said this before, it's my lovely sister. So we'll have a lot to chat about. And I think first, before we kind of dive into our game recap, which I cannot wait to get into. This week was so crazy with lacrosse. But first things first, let's talk about us.
Okay.
Let's talk about us and our most fantastic experience. I know me and Meg talked about our experience with the WLL previously, but this is a little bit of a different perspective here. So we're always glad to talk more lacrosse. So Emma, kind of walk me through you finding out about the WLL and kind of that process of, am I going to be able to play in the WLL? What are those next steps? And then we'll kind of get into the actual championship series itself. So kind of start us off from day one of WLL.
Yeah, day one. Found out through Instagram, which was super exciting. I mean, everyone was posting it everywhere. I had people calling me. It was awesome. We were all so super pumped about the whole thing being announced that day. Also, it was such a cool way to announce it, like in New York City, like having it across Times Square. That was just so amazing to see for our sport. And leading, like after that, I kind of was just obviously like really hoping to be someone maybe asked to try to play in it and like kind of introduce the world what WLL means and like what it's going to be. And I was super grateful, very thankful that I was chosen to do it. Very exciting stuff. We didn't really know anything. It was everything that the public found out. We found out at the same time too, which made it even more exciting, kind of realizing what teams are going to be, what's like the state with the team going to be, and what the names of the teams are going to be, logos, all that stuff. And last but not least, our teammates. Like we had no clue. It was so fun finding out. Obviously, Megan and I played on the same team, but we didn't.
Again.
Before that, we kind of found out at the same time, which was so cool, such an amazing experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even to backtrack that off of what you were saying, when we found out that we were, able and afforded the opportunity to play in the WLL, we didn't even like tell each other.
No.
We did not talk about it. It was like, the email was like, don't tell anyone, like blah, blah, blah. And we were like, okay, like this is super under wraps. Cool. We literally didn't talk about it.
Nothing. Like crazy.
When it got closer to the day that the teams were being released, we were like, so what have you heard? Kind of one of those. And
side-eye moment, we're like,
you're like, but what have you heard? I'm like, no, but what do you know? Kind of one of those. And then we got to play together, and I think that's kind of the same process that I went through. And then let's talk about the actual tournament, right? So we get there, and we got the Maybelline Glam Truck, Glam RV. I don't even know what to call that, truck, RV.
It was amazing. It was a Maybelline Glam experience. It was amazing. I can't stop saying it. It was amazing.
It was amazing. Super talented makeup artists on there that were making us all look fresh and beautiful. Not that everyone isn't, but fresh and beautiful with their makeup products for our headshots, our photo shoot. So we jumped straight from the glam truck to media day, right?
Yeah, photo shoot. Hopped right in there. It was so fun.
Yeah, and then we went through, did all the headshots, the poses.
Got to see our jerseys for the first time.
Yes,
that was so cool.
Unveiling of the jerseys in person. And then we got to take home some makeup too. So that was nice. Because I actually used Maybelline products prior to them kind of announcing their partnership. Yeah, no, I've used their concealer before. And their mascaras, there's a bunch of different ones.
Fire. Amazing.
The Falsies one, that was a big one back in the day for me. But and then Emma, how did it feel, so if we backtrack on what the WL is, we're running in a sixes format. Emma and I had tried out for the USA lacrosse sixes team back in 2021, 2020?
21. Yeah.
2021. And that was unfortunately the season where Emma was sidelined with an injury. Yeah, unfortunately.
Whoops.
Yeah, so we tried out in 2021. The World Games were in 2022. So previously you've had some experience with sixes. So what was kind of your mindset coming into the tournament with the sixes, coming off of a season where you're playing just regular field lacrosse you've been playing forever?
Yeah, I mean, I was elated to find out that it was a it's sixes format. I personally am someone who loves the sixes format. I think that it is one of the most fun and fascinating ways to watch players and their different creative skills that they have and how you can showcase it because it's such a fast game. I also personally selfishly love it because I get to play a little defense more than I usually do, so it's very fun for me. It kind of brings me back to my midi days, which I love. And yeah, I just love the sixes format. I think it is just so entertaining to watch, especially when it's just five players on the field and a goalie. It is just, obviously everything's moving super quickly. You have to kind of work with each other's smarts and kind of play off each other and knowing how many skilled people you're around on the field. It was just such an awesome experience to be able to play with some of the best players literally to ever play the game and against them. It was just a crazy experience.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have to agree with you with that. Playing with people you competed against forever, and it's so much more fun to compete with them than against them. Yes. And use all of their IQs and kind of you're learning from each other too, learning what things work for them and how they see things differently than you do, and you kind of can take those to create a successful product, which is what that was. And for Emma, she is the ideal sixes player, I would say. She can shoot and she's gritty. I'm not even just saying that just because we're related.
Wow.
She is gritty. And then she loves defense. She eats that up. So it's definitely a great format for her. Yeah, I know. Great format for her. She played really well. And then, coming into that championship game, once again, we're facing Boston. Me and Emma and I should say, have quite a history against Boston teams.
Yep.
And, we fell short this time.
It's always got to be Boston.
It's always got to be. However, that Boston team is stacked. They've got a really, really good roster. Not that we don't. We have the golden stick.
But come on.
Yes. Honestly, all the teams are really good. I can't even pinpoint one because it's you're seeing all these talented people just put together.
And all the games were within a goal. It was crazy. All the games were so close. I mean,
the fourth quarter stress was real. And it was a lot of fun overall. And, even though we didn't come out with the victory that we wanted, the title that we wanted, I think it was just still it's a good movement for the sport. And I know I've said this before, but all of the games were sold out.
Yeah.
Like,
The fans
especially
were
the
amazing.
weekend games, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, sold out.
And there was a snowstorm one of the days, and people still pulled up. It was awesome.
I know. We did a fan event at the end of Fan Experience, and we were trading bracelets, signing, shirts and posters and stuff. And oh, there's one of the bracelets right there.
One of the fans gave me this, and I almost cried. It's so cute.
Yeah. So that was also a lot of fun. That was like the Tuesday that the blizzard hit. So we still had a good showing there, but then the rest of the games were all sold out, and the crowd was loud. They were really, really into it. And it was really, really great. So I'm excited to see where this goes and, kind of grow with it as well. And then we went our separate ways. Emma and I we don't live in the same household currently.
We don't even live in the same area.
We're like a few hours away. So kind of rolling into this, Emma, why don't you give us a little bit of a life update post college? So you're now almost a year out, I guess, if we skip ahead to May. You're almost a year out. What's life kind of looking like for you?
Yeah, life's been awesome.
Like, as if I don't know, but
you already know.
For the people.
I call you every day.
I know, for the people though.
For the people. So I am currently still in Syracuse. Just loved it so much, had to stay.
Mm-hmm.
I work as a medical scribe and a medical assistant at a bone and joint center up in Syracuse. So that's pretty much what takes up a lot of my time. I'm right now getting into the kind of getting everything set in place to go to nursing school. That's kind of what I've geared my life
career toward. Yeah,
it's just something that I've always wanted to do. So kind of am figuring it out on the way, like kind of how I want to go and where I want to go.
Yeah.
So that's been super fun. Besides that, I've just been working, obviously lacrosse is always in my life. I attend a lot of the Syracuse games, men's and women's. I try and honestly just do what I can to support. I'm also I train girls up here. I do a lot of group sessions with people. So it's been super fun, still kind of teaching the game of lacrosse, especially the young kids in Syracuse, because they are just the best fans, especially. So being able to kind of meet with them after as an alumni and still being able to work with them and just teach them, it's just been so inspiring for me watching how much these girls really care and want to be the best they can be. So it's just been super fun.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're listening and you live in the Syracuse, Central New York area and you want to train your daughter, or if you are a player, reach out. She's nice. And she's kind of good. So and maybe it wouldn't be bad.
We have fun. That's the biggest thing.
Definitely. So that's fantastic. Emma took the sciencey route. She's going to do so well. I took a different route. I'm more communications, business focused, which is kind of funny because a lot of people are like, oh my God, you guys are very similar. And I'm like, for most things, but just not all things.
We think a little differently.
Our personalities are pretty much.
We do a job swap one day, maybe. I think
job swap.
You would get arrested probably, and I would get fired.
I'm like, wait, what do you mean? I can't do this.
What do you mean? It's my sister.
Life is good. Life is moving on. Do you miss it? Do you miss the team? Do you miss playing? I know you just played, so maybe that might be a little different. But do you miss playing collegiately? Do you kind of give me a little bit of your thoughts? Do you think you're in a good place with it? How are you kind of feeling as you're watching this season go on?
Yeah, I definitely think it took a little bit to come to terms with not playing collegiate lacrosse anymore, but I'm definitely in a great place right now. Obviously, going and seeing all the girls that I played with last year and being able to actually be there in the dome watching them play, it kind of I don't want to say gives me a sense of closure, but it's just so fun to now see the girls that were always encouraging me and I was always encouraging them and they were teaching me and it was kind of a back and forth thing. It's great seeing them successfully playing out there. So it's just been super fun for me and honestly definitely in a great place. I think a lot of that has to also do with the fact that I can continue to still play, especially with the WLL just happening. Mm-hmm. So it's honestly I'm great place with it. I do miss it because it was honestly the best years of my life so far. So Definitely will miss it always, but it's honestly bittersweet just watching everyone else get out there and just have a great time, and I get to cheer them on the sideline.
Yeah, no, I completely relate to that, especially, my first year out, watching you and the other girls on the team too. It's like closure, but it's also like such a feeling of like pride, kind of watching the next group step up and, step into these shoes that you've been wearing, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
filling these roles that need to be filled, and they're doing it with their own style, and they're doing it with grace. Um, that's like, it's very rewarding. I think
Mm-hmm.
I would say, to kind of sit there and be able to watch and reflect and cheer them on as they're, taking on this season, especially with the schedule that Syracuse has. It's one of the tougher ones,
Yeah,
in the NCAA. So got to give it to them. And I guess kind of with that, we can kind of cycle into what I've been waiting to talk about. Not that I didn't love talking about you, but what I've been so excited to talk about,
I get it. It's fine.
this week's game recaps. Because what a week it was. I feel like I've been saying that every single week so far.
You
However,
can say it if you want.
what?
What week it was. I can say it.
Yeah, you can say it. But I keep saying it because it keeps being true. These things just keep happening, and all these overtime games, upsets. I'm like, every single time I think the rankings couldn't change, they change. I almost feel like I'm jinxing it at some points, so I kind of keep my mouth shut. Um, but let's just dive into it. First games first. This one happened last Friday, and if you didn't get a chance to tune into it, because it kind of started, it was Friday at 5 p.m. Most people are getting out of work at 5 or out of practice or whatever. Syracuse versus Stanford. As a former, my Siri just went off. As a former Orange, this game, my heart was heart racing all over the place. I couldn't even breathe. Okay, I'm not even being dramatic. I was watching this from my office and I was like, oof, oof, making sure I was being chill. But Syracuse pulled out the win. At this time, Syracuse was ranked 10. They beat Stanford by 1. Stanford was ranked 6. In double overtime, Syracuse won 14-13 up in the JMA Wireless Dome. This game was incredibly back and forth.
Incredible.
It was like Syracuse wins one quarter, Stanford wins another one, and then Syracuse wins a quarter, then Stanford wins the other one, and so you're both winning 2 quarters, and it comes down to double OT. And before I kind of jump into a little bit more stats this way, huge shout out to Syracuse's goalie, Daniela Gayet. You absolutely stood on your head. I was so impressed with you. You stepped up in such a huge way. So proud of you as an alum and as your friend. But you were a difference maker. That was a difference maker. And goalies can do that in these tight games. And when they can step up and when that does happen for them, it brings energy into the team, brings energy into the defense, which I think we were kind of seeing that pick up towards the end of the game into the overtimes, which it helps. It really, really helps. So to kind of give you a little bit of stats, Syracuse had 9 different goal scorers. And Meg and I say this a lot. The more goal scorers you can have, the better. It shows a more well-rounded offense, and it shows everybody's a threat, which therefore, as an opposing team, when you're doing your scouting report, you kind of have to be like, oh, I'm paying attention to her. I'm paying attention to her. Can't forget about this person as well. So for this 9 different goal scorers, that's absolutely huge. And it's showing that Syracuse is moving the ball. The ball is not sitting in sticks. It is moving, and that's what we like to see. So for them, we've got Emma Munchnick. She had 3 goals. Great day. And also, welcome back, Ashley Volpe.
Woo!
So her name's a little bit new this season. She was a freshman last year. Unfortunately, had a season-ending injury prior to the season starting, and she was unable to play last season, but she was very highly regarded coming into college, and she steps on the field for the first, or she makes her mark on the game, putting up her first 2 career goals, which, if you've played college lacrosse or, kind of any sport really where somebody has their first points, It is such a huge feeling. It's so, so great. And she made her goals count too. They were nice. They weren't just like dinks and in. They were beautiful.
A little dribble dodge to like an immediate shot, first goal.
Like that release is crazy. And then, as always, we got Emma Ward. She had 1 goal this game, but had 4 assists. So, especially when you are a player on offense, you're getting more attention from the defense. Your role changes. Sometimes you're the goal scorer. Sometimes you're somebody who's kind of moving the ball. And with those, you rack up the assists because it opens up other people as well. And then for Stanford, we had Ava Arceri. She had 3 goals. Lindsay DeVere had 3. Madigan Miller, who we know from Long Island. She went to Bayport. Her older sister went to USC. Kerrigan, she put up 2 goals as well. During this game, most of the stats were pretty even. Draws and ground balls. This was another game with the turnovers being a little bit high. We had Stanford having 18 turnovers and Cuse having 17. Meg and I always say we like to keep, in a dream world, you have 10 or less turnovers. That is a good way to win a game. And then here, a little shocking factor, which I'm not surprised about because of how Daniela played, but Stanford had 36 shots and Syracuse had 28. You put the ball in the net. It doesn't matter how many shots you take. If you just take more than the other team, you win the game. Melina Cotter, freshman. Game winner, sudden death, double overtime. That handle of the pass that she had and that shot, that's not a freshman play, which is exciting for Cuse. It's exciting for her. That's confidence in your offense. We love to see that. So congrats to her. And then for Stanford, their leading scorer, Poliski, she was face guarded this game, which I think was a smart move by Syracuse, but she was limited to just 1 assist. But on the other side of it, for Stanford, she's got to have the ball. She's got to have it in her stick. She's got to have defenses looking at her, kind of taking the focus off of what's going around them, which is something I'm sure they'll be working on. They're coached very well. So moving forward, they'll definitely be able to work with that. And then shout out to Coco Vanderveer.
Coco.
She had 6 caused turnovers, which you wouldn't, like, when I was watching, I didn't even like think about that as I was watching it. And then later on I was like watching it, looking at like the box score, and I was like, oh my God, pop off. 6 caused turnovers is absolutely huge stat. So congrats to Cuse. That's a big win.
Yep.
Moving forward, this game, I was wrong. Meg was right for this game. Emma, who did you have winning this game?
Clemson. I thought they played. I mean, I watched them play against Cuse. Obviously, they looked like they are a great team. Like, I think they have all the key factors. And shout out to Clemson's goalie, Ellie Lamparter, Mount Sinai native. I think that I really thought they were going to pull through that win.
Yeah. So did I. Clemson was on a hot streak. They were on a hot streak. And just, I was also not super confident, though, that these two teams are both playing really, really well. They're both having numerous goal scorers per game. Mm-hmm. And in the end, to backtrack a little bit, Duke, ranked 17 at the time, beats Clemson, who's ranked number 7 at the time, 12-11. This game was played at Clemson, too, which we talk about home field advantage. Not today. Not today. In this first here, when the game started, Clemson went up 4-0 in that first quarter, holding Duke to no goals, which Meg and I have said previously. Holding a team to no goals is fantastic. If you are the team that doesn't score goals, you're putting yourself in a very, very difficult position to come out with a win. However, Duke said, that's not true, guys. We can do it. And then they did. Kind of going into half, Clemson was up 6-4, right? So Duke makes a little bit of comeback in that second. And then moving forward, Duke puts up 4 goals for the rest of the game. And compared to Clemson, they've only put up, so Duke put up 8, Clemson put up 5. And in the end, that was kind of the stick for them. That second half, Duke kind of pulled away. Duke took their second lead with 36 seconds left in the game, which obviously is a great time to get the lead for them. We got Shearer netted the game-winning goal, and Duke kind of just had to hold on there at the end. And when you are on offense playing keep away and you're running around, you know you've got no shot clock to worry about. You're in a good spot, usually. You're usually in a good spot. And then as the opposing team, as we've been in these positions before, it's probably the worst. It's the worst and longest, 30 seconds of your life.
Yeah.
It is, you are sprinting around, you're locking people off. There's going to be somebody open because you're trying to double it. It's a very frustrating feeling. And even if you practice it a million times, it's kind of tough. So with that, I mean, Clemson also didn't exactly help themselves. Clemson had 5 yellow cards, which is not a position you want to be in, compared to Duke only having 1. So, I mean, if you go man up 5 times,
you
gotta score on those. You gotta go 3 for 5 at least. And Duke did just that. Duke was able to generate more offense. They had 31 shots compared to Clemson's 25, which is pretty close. And then they kind of just got the hot hand there. And then Duke handed Clemson their first loss of the season. And Duke, like I mentioned before, multiple goal scorers. Callahan had 5 goals. Bella Goodwin had 4. A bunch of other people had 2. And then Clemson also had a lot of goal scorers too. Lindsay Marshall put up 5. Natalie Shirtliff put up 3. And a couple others had 1 goal. It just wasn't enough for them this game. But this was a big win for Duke, a kind of statement win for Duke almost, because both these teams are on the come up a little bit. However, Clemson, this is your first loss of the season. It's early. Learn from it and keep pushing, because you guys are in great places, both of you.
That's why I love the beginning of the season. It's always just crazy.
I know.
It's so early, and everyone's always talking about everything, and I'm like, it is so early. Things change in April, just like that, and it's just that's what I love about all of this.
Yeah, especially kind of these first few games. I know we're kind of heading into the getting towards mid-season kind of vibes, but you've also a lot of when you're out there, you have to understand you've been practicing with these same groups. The same group since you came to campus in August, right? And then, or I guess September, depending on when you come back. But August, right? You've been playing, you did fall ball, you played competitively in fall ball, and then you went home for winter break, you come back, you preseason, and then you step on the field. And you've played in fall ball games, but coming and playing against, it's real. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You're out there and it is real. It is, fall ball is yes, it's competitive.
There's a difference, but there's a difference.
But there's a difference. It's a different feeling.
I don't know what it is, but fall ball play is just so different than the real season. I don't know what it is. There's just, in the fall ball, everyone's always like, oh, this team beat this team beat this team. But it's season comes and it's these teams are cruising past people.
Exactly. So, and then you just get that feeling of game day. And then there's also it's some people, you could be a freshman, it's your first time playing. You could be a senior, it's your first time stepping on the field. So that also that mental adjustment has to happen. So kind of as we move to the middle of the season, we see people get more comfortable. We see offenses and defenses and goalies, everybody can build confidence through this, through playing, getting that experience, which is so huge. And I think that's why we're seeing so many upsets, because people are getting more confident quicker than other teams. And they're kind of clicking, they're figuring it out earlier.
Yep. And all it takes is one game, literally one step on the field to make that confidence boost up, and that changes the whole team.
Yeah, exactly. And then moving forward to our next game here, Florida ranked 10 cruises past Loyola ranked 16. Florida wins 15-9. Game was played in Florida, and it was a rain game, which we don't really love.
I actually don't do rain games.
Explain.
I think they're so fun. It's crazy. These are the type of games.
Somebody needs to respond to this. What?
Because these are the type of games, it's about who is grittier. And that is what I love about it. Because these are the games where your stick might not be thrown right. So you have to pay extra focus to that. Your shots might not be coming off your stick right. You're running up the field in transition. The ball might fly out of your stick because of the rain. These are the games where it's you really have to dig in deep to really get the outcome that you want. And that's why it might be controversial. But I like rain games. I do.
Hey, I hear you. I hear you.
Grittier team. That's pretty much it.
I hear you. I get it. I don't feel that way, but I do understand your perspective. Unless it's downpouring, like, so side note, this is a personality thing. There's different types of rain. There's drizzles, there's rain, and then there's downpouring. If it is drizzling or just raining, irritating. I need it to downpour if it's going to rain. Like, just commit to it. I don't like playing
Just
in
commit.
just commit to it. I don't like playing in the drizzling. I don't like playing in just regular rain. Like,
Almost like a mist is annoying.
yeah, exactly.
Like if
So
it's just misty and then it gets all on your goggles and it starts dripping, like that's where it's like
yeah, but okay, I hear you on that. But with this game, Florida took the lead in the first, going up 5-1, and ran away with it. Those 5 goals kind of separated them, and in the fourth quarter, they put up 4. Compared to Loyola, Loyola only put up 3 in the second, 2 in the third. So kind of catching up there was a little bit tough. And from Florida's stat lines, a freshman led the way. We've got Clark Hamilton led the way with 4 goals and 2 assists. That's 6 points against a good Loyola team, a really, really good Loyola team. Caitlin Davies had 3 goals. Franny Hahn, who we mentioned previously, who had that stellar day against JMU, she had 3 points. Gianna Monaco had 3, Gabby Green had 1, and Jenny Markey, someone we are familiar with, had 1 goal as well.
Down Sad Eye native.
Woo! For Clark, this is her 3rd straight hat trick. So this freshman is racking up points, building confidence with this Florida team. We love to see that. Heating up, exactly. Loyola, I'm backtracking again. Meg and I always say, if you win the draw, you can win the game. However, this did not occur for Loyola. So Loyola dominated on the draw. They won 20. Florida only won 8. But they could not kind of capitalize on their possessions. And even with that, Tewaaraton nominee, a top 5 favorite this season, Chase Boyle, had 6 goals. You know, she's doing her job out there. However, another thing we focus on a lot is turnovers. Loyola had 16. Florida had 8. And like we said, if you have 10 or less turnovers, you have a very good chance of winning the game. Even though like the game kind of felt back and forth a little bit, Loyola was winning the draws, felt like they had possession, but those turnovers were absolutely killer.
Mm-hmm.
And then another kind of fact about that was Florida was able to convert on free positions. And free positions have kind of been a controversial point in our sport for the more recent seasons, I would say, if you agree.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just with, should we have them? Should we get rid of them? Should we change them into being a different way? But they are game changers. They really are. And if you can convert on your free positions, that puts you in a really good place. So Florida put up 6 goals off free possessions, where Loyola put up none.
Yeah.
So Florida just had a day. They really said, we're here, we're going to win, and we're going to show you why we're ranked in the top 10.
Yeah.
This game I was right about. So if Meg was here, I'd be rubbing it in her face. We got number 13 Princeton blows past Harvard, number 19. Princeton won 26. This game was played at Princeton. Princeton had a huge second half and first quarter. They put up 5 goals in the first and put up 12 goals in the second half, which what more can you ask for here, really? Also, Princeton's goalie, Amelia Hughes, had 11 saves. That's a huge day.
Huge.
And, you know, for Harvard, they just couldn't get past Amelia with those 11 saves, and they just couldn't really put up those points here. They were held scoreless in that second quarter, which we don't really love to see, and only put up 1 point in the fourth. So kind of a hard day on offense for them to get going, where Princeton, they got going from the get-go. Multiple goal scorers. Jamie McDonald tied the program record of points in a single game with 5 goals and 5 assists. Congratulations, Jamie. Mackenzie Blake had 5 goals. We had a couple more hat tricks, 2 goals, 1 goal games. So when we're getting that variety on offense, you're going to score more. It's fantastic. Yeah. But yes, Princeton came out on top this game, which is a classic Ivy matchup. And I mean, this year Ivies, especially like Princeton, Harvard, Yale, that's a competitive conference tournament play. Yeah. So excited for conference tournament play this year.
So excited, especially about this Ivy tournament. I am so excited for it.
It's going to be great. I think every conference, we're kind of seeing a lot of teams just grow and get better and better and become more competitive in their conference, which makes them have their pushes for NCAA tournament play, which is so fantastic. Loving seeing all that. Which actually makes me think really quick, side note, because we didn't talk about this one because it wasn't really on our radar here. Denver beat Michigan.
I saw that. I know.
That was not on that was not what I was predicting.
Me either.
Denver had a tough start to their season. And then coming out with this Michigan win, huge for Denver.
Huge win.
Not fantastic for Michigan. I think the score was 13-11 or something like that. So it was, a 2-goal game at that end, or maybe 13-10, one of those. I can't really remember off the top of my head, but it was a close game, played at Denver. Kind of wild. I don't know. I didn't see that coming. But props to Denver, being able to turn it around here, get a nice win for them, kind of bump them back up into those top 20 teams.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to
for them.
Yeah. Which we'll get to in a second when we talk about our rankings. But our last game, I was right about. Number 9, Maryland rolled past number 12, JMU. Maryland wins 11-5. And this game was played at JMU. And just for a little bit of context, I know I said this, I think last week I said this when we were talking about games to watch. But the Maryland JMU rivalry as of late has been huge. These teams are ending each other's seasons. They're coming up with big wins, and to be able for Maryland to go and play at JMU and come out with this win, and especially kind of come out of it in style, right? 11-5, Maryland first quarter, 5 goals, JMU 0. JMU is held to 2 quarters with 0 goals.
And that is crazy. Like, props to the Maryland defense for that.
Shout out Maryland defense, though. Mm-hmm.
That is, 1 quarter is one thing. Like, that is amazing as is. 2 quarters is, honestly, I don't think I've ever even, heard of that. Like, that is one of the more impressive things that I see in this week.
Yeah, it was a classic Maryland just showing up. And then for JMU, that first quarter going down 5-0, they just really, they couldn't dig themselves out of the hole.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get there. And then coming out of halftime, third quarter putting up 0, not really in the best place. And then, Maryland has multiple goal scorers. Again, we got Corey Edmondson, who we've heard a lot about this season, playing fantastic for this Maryland team. She had a hat trick. Shelby Sullivan had 2 goals. Katie Seitz had 2. And then a couple others had 1 as well. So this offense is developing. They were younger last year. We're kind of seeing a little bit more not seniority, but,
maturity
on the field. That's a good word. Yep. More confidence is building. Maryland was able to pick up their first ranked win of the year. So confidence builds. And then they also snapped JMU's 19-game win streak at home, which I love when people beat win streaks. I really, really do. I think it's fun. Obviously,
rivalry.
It brings an extra factor into the game of we want to win, but we also don't want your win streak to hit 20.
Yeah.
Something like that. But no, besides that, the game was pretty much even. They were even on draw controls, nearly even on turnovers, high in turnovers though, 19 and 18 for both these teams. And then they were basically even on shots on goal. It just came down to who could put the ball away. And in this game, Maryland could, JMU kind of struggled a little bit. However, both these teams, or this JMU team is good. They've got Maddie Epke on the team. She's very good. Wouldn't be surprised to see them bounce back strong from this game.
Mm-hmm.
And now we move on to one of my favorite parts of the podcast. We have the rankings.
Sing it, girl.
So, thank you. I think that actually sounded kind of good, but
yeah.
So, like we mentioned before, Syracuse has that big win against Stanford. They needed that win. That puts them back in the top 5. If we're looking at our top 5 right now, we've got BC holding strong at 1, UNC at 2, Northwestern at 3, Yale at 4, and Syracuse at 5. I like this. I like seeing Yale in the top 5. I know Meg's a really big fan of Yale this season, so she's probably pumped about this as well. And then kind of looking towards that top 10, we've got Maryland at 6, Stanford at 7, JMU at 8, and Florida at 9, and Princeton at 10. This is a competitive top 10.
I'm loving seeing the Ivies up here. I think it is this. I can't wait for tournament time. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, especially, with Ivies, on the men's side, we've seen Ivies being in the top 4, top 10 for seasons right now. And so to kind of see like the development shift over to the women's side is so fantastic. These teams are coached really, really well. So it's great. And then seeing Stanford up there as well, JMU holding strong. A lot of these other teams, they've been floating in and out of the top 10 though for decades, like
A long time.
a long time. So it's really, really nice to kind of see some new names and familiar names hold strong. And then looking towards the rest of the top 20, with Denver's win, they get back into the top 20. We got Rutgers also hitting the top 20. They had a big win against Stony Brook. So with that, we kind of see Stony Brook fall out of that top 20. They're kind of having a little bit of a rough start to their season, I would say, for Stony Brook compared to previous seasons. However, they did lose a lot of their firepower last year. They're still coached very well. I just think they're kind of developing a little bit more right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, I've been saying it, pumped about them. Love to see them up here. They've got a good thing going on with Ohio State on both the women's and the men's side.
Men's a huge win.
Huge win. Which I don't know what the men are ranked right now, but that was a very fun game to watch. And we're seeing Duke hold at 12, Clemson at 11, and then Hopkins at 14, Loyola at 13, Michigan at 15, UVA at 16, Penn at 17. So I like this top 20. What are your thoughts, Emma? Do you think anybody could move? Is there somebody who should be in the top 10 that's not?
Yeah, I think this is a lot of good movement. I always love to see when the rankings are drastically changing week to week. I think that really just shows the amount of talent that's in the lacrosse world right now, which is super exciting. And I think obviously a lot is going to change because, as we keep saying, it is very early in the season, and a lot of these teams start getting more confident playing good teams, and like lacrosse just starts to look more whole, and every team kind of starts playing their best towards the end of the season. So I think this is going to be a really fun season to watch. Super pumped about Yale being in top 5. I love to see an Ivy top 5. Especially because it's not something that we've seen a lot of, especially in my career time. Mm-hmm. So being able to see the Ivies kind of bump up for 4 and then hitting that top 10, it's just so amazing to me because it's just really showing how much the sport's expanding and a lot of players are going to different places, and I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I have to agree with you on that. And especially this Clemson team, I know we're talking about them. They're kind of in the hot seat right now in a good way, which you don't really hear it, but I mean it in a good way right now. This Clemson team, the recruits they're getting, the development they're having on their team, I think, and I know I said this last episode, but 2028, they're a Final Four team.
28. I like that.
The year of the Olympics, people, the year lacrosse is in the Olympics, Clemson will be in the Final Four.
I'm quoting you on that.
Yeah, I told people
back in 2028.
I told people last episode, I was like, 2028, Clemson should be a Final Four team. They have a lot of great players coming in. They've got the facilities. They've got good coaching.
They got the support. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
And they have the weather. Come on. Come on.
Beautiful. Yeah, I didn't get to play there, but you played there.
I played there. It was so cool.
Not as cool as the Dome.
Not as cool as the Dome. I mean, come on. Nothing's as cool as the Dome.
But still cool.
For an outside place, so cool. Yeah.
But that's kind of our recap of the rankings. And when you guys hear this, it'll be Wednesday. So we're going to talk about the Cuse Hopkins game. Hopkins came out with the win, which
overtime again.
It's a good Hopkins team, guys. There's a lot of good teams, okay? There's a lot of good teams.
This is why I'm loving it. Early season, a lot of moving around.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that game in our next podcast. So everybody hold tight, okay? Just hold tight. I
won't be there, but I'll be there in spirit.
Yeah, Emma won't be able to join us. But I guess, Emma, do you want to give any initial thoughts on that game?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it because I was working. But yeah, work, real life,
Ugh.
Oh, God. But from the little that I saw on social media, I think it's just honestly giving me flashbacks to overtime games in the Dome. So, not much to say on that.
No, I get it. And also, if you guys are watching men's lacrosse as well, which you learn things from men's lacrosse too, watch both. Syracuse men's played Hopkins men. That dome, there was like 10,000 people there. It was
I was
probably
there.
Emma was there. Coach Gate got her some lovely seats.
He got his
Um,
he got his
he's
best seats ever in the suite.
he's the best. Huge win. That rivalry is so insane, so
Dome was
fun to watch.
electric. The game was so fun. You could feel the energy coming off the field. It was such a fun game to watch.
Yeah, so they had a big win yesterday against Hopkins. And then, today Q's played women's team played Hopkins as well. Close game, didn't come out in their end in their favor. But that's live and learn. We're early here. No stress.
Nope.
So looking ahead towards upcoming games that we are watching, we've got a good lineup kind of spread out this week. I know previously we had a really heavy Saturday, but I think this time we've got some good games for you guys. And they start for us on Wednesday. We've got number 16 Loyola taking on number 20 Penn at 6 p.m. I like this matchup. These two teams I think are kind of evenly matched here. With Loyola, though, they've got Chase Boyle, which is absolutely huge. So I'm kind of excited to see how she plays against this Penn defense and the rest of the Loyola offense. The next game that we are looking at is Rutgers versus number 11 Princeton. That game is at 7 p.m., a Wednesday night game. And now that daylight savings happened, the sun might still be up slightly, but we're getting an under the lights game, which will be fun to watch.
Another midweek game after 5 p.m. Huge fan of those.
Yes, because if anybody that has anything to do with scheduling listens, kids can
stop
come.
making 2:00 games during the week, please.
We cannot be doing these 2:00, 3:30 games on a Tuesday. How am I supposed to tell my boss, hey, I need to take an hour and a half break? It just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen.
If you care if I'm working while I'm watching this game, I can do both. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm like, can I put this game on our monitor and we can all watch together? No, that just doesn't happen. So
I safely drove to that Syracuse-Stanford game the other day, and I got there second quarter. It was electric. Got there, it was great.
So fun. But
2:00 game, I'm like, I gotta sprint there.
Yeah, somebody do something about this because I don't have any power there. But
neither. I don't have any power, so
it's okay. But Rutgers
podcast will give me some power.
Maybe. But this Rutgers Princeton game that's at 7 p.m. I'm watching this game. Rutgers coming off that big win with Stony Brook. I think they've got a lot of confidence coming in, but Princeton's also playing really well right now. So that'll be a fun matchup to watch. And then we flash forward to Saturday. We've got number 14 UVA versus number 17 ranked Duke at 12 p.m. Obviously, the rankings kind of differ here. So I know I just said Duke's ranked 12. It just depends on who you listen to. Okay? Which is another issue with the rankings that I have, but it's fine. I'll get over it. So these two teams ranked around the same. Really good ACC matchup. Once again, kind of evenly matched here, kind of in a fighting position, right? They're coming off of, UVA is a little bit shaky right now. Duke's coming off of a strong win. So I'm kind of excited to see how Duke kind of develops here and UVA kind of bouncing back a little bit against an ACC team. That should be a fun watch at noon. And then we're looking for Sunday. Sunday, we don't really talk a lot about Sunday games, but we've got two good ones. Games. I don't really talk about them that often. But we've got good ones for you guys. We've got Maryland versus Michigan. Big Ten matchup. Ooh, I screamed into my mic. Big Ten matchup at 1 p.m. We know how I feel about the Big Ten streaming, but alas, watch it. Watch this game. I think this is going to be so good to watch. They've got some really talented players with Jill Smith on Michigan, Corey Edmondson on Maryland. Those are two big-time players for them on offense. I'm excited to see how they put up against each other's defenses. And then, especially Michigan's goalie, too. Erin, I talk about her a lot. She's really, really good. So this will be an evenly matched game, I think.
Great offenses, great defenses. It's going to be very fun to watch.
And then finally, we are looking at Stanford versus Yale. This is a 4 p.m. game. loving this one as well. Yale's playing really well right now. Stanford, even though they just had that loss to Cuse, playing really well right now. They're getting a lot of ball movement on Stanford. And Yale, I love the season they're having so far. They had a really strong finish to the end of their season last year. Didn't get as far as I'm sure they wanted to, but they're on track. Right now, they're on track for a really good season. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to jinx anything, but they're on track in a good way.
I knocked on wood for you, don't worry.
Thank you. And thank you. Sorry to the Yale people in case, but I think they're on a good place. But those are the 5 games that we are tuning into this week. It should be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys can tune in if you can. Or go to the games too. Going in person to games is a lot of fun. You get to feel the energy of the crowd. And you can look at the players and see how they're playing in person in real time. And you just support the sport. Exactly. So
support the sport. That's what we do. That's what we need.
I like that. Support the sport.
But
yeah, I love it. On the fly. But yes, tune in. Great week of lacrosse ahead. And we will be tuning back in with you guys next week. Emma, thank you so much for joining us today, taking the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your insight and your recaps. Thank you. It's so much fun doing this.
Thanks for having me. Hope you guys enjoyed me on here.
Yeah, next week we will have Meg back on the podcast, and we will be recapping this week's games, talking about what to look forward to, and see if there's any more upsets. I don't know if my heart can handle anymore. I'm stressed. It's more stressful watching than playing. I really do believe that.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah, it's been
the amount of stress I was in at the Stanford game in a double overtime. I never felt like that while I was playing.
Ever.
I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God.
And now I just understand how my parents felt when they were just watching us. So shout out mom and dad.
Yeah.
Sorry about those feelings. Hope you're doing okay. Yeah. However, thank you guys for tuning into the Meg Show. As always, make sure that you ask us questions. We love to do questions and kind of check in to see who we're picking for this week's games. And maybe we'll bring in a guest picker. So, spoiler alert. Put that hand down. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe
people want to see my picks.
They might. Let me
know.
Let us know who you want us to have either on the show or as a guest picker if we do those.
Wink.
But anyways, that's a wrap for this week. Make sure you guys tune into the Meg Show next week, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.